Hello everybody and welcome to Stone and Void. I'm your host Jay Phillips, joined as always with Patrick Collins.
Hello.
Don Bowie.
Hey.
And replacement Jay.
Hi.
But I'm Jay Phillips. No.
I'm not Robert.
Not Robert. Many different names. Cole O'Brien.
Yeah.
Top 8. Last time you were actually on here while I was gone.
Keep bringing it up.
Replaced. Yep.
Yep.
Gotta keep rubbing it.
Just gotta rub it in, you know?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't there. But
That's
no,
so
I was off
something.
having fun, so thank you for covering me while I was gone.
Yeah,
problem.
good job.
We have a ton of things to talk about tonight, guys. So let's just go ahead and jump in as soon as we can with the how and why article that was posted just a few minutes ago on the main page.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't already know, the most obvious thing in Force of Will is their main website, where there's a ton of information that we also get from. Definitely read this. It's a very interesting little article. A lot of stuff that we've already said. But more importantly, what I wanted to talk about was the new art for the new stones being reprinted in the next cluster.
In the Lapis Cluster.
Yes.
Yeah, so at the end of the article it said that all of the 10 dual stones
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
are
10.
going to be
10.
reprinted in the Lapis Cluster. It doesn't say in which set, but it says in the whole Lapis Cluster.
So they'll probably be spread out like they were in the first
Yeah.
Grim Cluster,
Probably.
assuming.
I really love this art. I'm really annoyed that we are not getting a new mechanic to these dual stones, something to make them unique, something to make them different.
I want paint
the art-
stones.
Yeah, but I would love different dual stones. But it is nice that, I mean, we're going back to the same world, so it makes sense to have the same stones in this world.
It's cool that they're just doing new art, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like, have
Yeah.
some variety.
More art's always nice.
I'm excited for the Feast stones. Like the feasting stones and like the
Group
ruler
Alaska
stones,
and
Group
whatnot.
Alaska.
Oh, you
yeah.
think we're going to
Those
get
guys.
those?
It'd be interesting
Maybe.
if they come back. I mean, if
Maybe.
these dual stones are coming back because of lore-esque type of aesthetics, that's probably a good assumption to make.
Well,
I
Feasting
don't
and
think
Zero
so in
are people right now.
See, like, they
right?
became
Maybe
the
like the
stones, didn't they?
luminaries.
Didn't they, like, become the stones for a while or something? And then they, like,
Yeah,
woke
now
up?
they're not stones anymore.
Yeah, I think that's what
Uh,
happened, but
Yeah.
the lore is kind of
So there's the
foggy.
green stone, or there's a green card right now, which we might. I don't think we're actually going to talk about it, but it's in the green starter deck where it's the House of the Six Sages or something like
Okay.
that. There's like I think 4 or 5 stones sitting there, but there's obviously like 2 or 1 empty spots, and I think those are the other 6 sages. Like they're not sprouted human forms right now.
That would make
Alright.
sense.
I'm not.
We need
positive-
Alexander
it's
to
just-
explain it with some cards here for me.
Yeah, he hasn't
I-
done that in a while.
I know. I really wish you'd bring that back. For those of you guys who don't know, the podcaster Alexander used to do really great
Storytelling
story
videos.
and it's the only way I know anything about the story. I mainly just play this game for what it is.
Mhm.
But the story aspect would be kind of nice to know, especially when
Yeah.
we're trying to guess what's coming up in the future sets.
Yeah. Negative Legend actually does a pretty good job of telling the story.
Yeah. So, is there anything else that you guys are excited to possibly have coming back? Since I know that we're going to get into spoilers towards the end here. But anything that you guys think is going
Oh,
to come
like
back?
what we hope to come back?
Yeah.
I mean, just like everyone else, I think Cthulhu's are super exciting.
Oh, yeah.
That's totally.
Cthulhu's.
But like other than that, what did I mean, I really hope to see all the Six Sages again. Like, I think it would be so cool if there's just like one of these sets is like the 5 rulers are the other Six Sages,
All
but
of them.
I mean, technically that's only 4 other Six
Yeah,
Sages.
what happened to the other 6 ages?
I think they're in those stones.
That
I
sounds
think.
correct.
I'm
Yeah,
not
because you only
positive.
see like flavor text from Feasting and Zero after they should have been quotes out of the
Yeah.
stones. So I think you might be right about that.
Yeah, so maybe there'll be some sort of stones or some unique stones. We're definitely not getting more dual stones though. Which
You mean unique ones?
unique dual stones, yeah.
Mhm.
And we also don't want to get overly flooded with a whole bunch of stones, anyways. I mean, it is nice that they're available both in the Van Gogh box that just released and
Yeah.
going to be in the set for people to be able to get them multiple different ways, which is something I actually want to talk about a little bit later as well. More or less when we start talking about the starter decks that were released, since we got a lot more of the spoiler information about those.
Okay.
Which actually, let's just go ahead and talk about the feasting deck really quick. Just
Should we
that's
go
actually
in
the-
order, or you just want?
No, I just actually want to jump
Feasting's
straight
awesome.
into the
Okay.
feasting deck. We will go into back to the other ones. I mean, I'm just kind of gonna jump around
Yeah.
here because we also had Zero Magus of Null as a ruler now, and also the other ruler is
The Cthulhu,
The Cthulhu.
Slog off. right?
Yog-Sothoth.
Yog-Sothoth.
Is that the ruler?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
He
the
has a
ruler.
weird name though. He's like the master of thousands.
Yeah,
Yeah, but then he
that's
flips
his front side, and then he transforms
Into
into Yog.
Yog-Sothoth, the like dark. Well,
But
it was
before
the
we
dark
get
elf.
into that one, let's quickly talk about the elf one, because this is actually something I want to touch on a little bit, because the other rulers will be in the set, which will be available for you guys to get. But just speaking for just the starter decks, this is the first deck that we get that's a little bit more powerful than the
white one?
Yeah, than the white grim one, which I don't know, left a lot to
roll well.
yeah. But Feasting,
Honey.
who has the ability to, whenever you cast your second spell per turn, you get to put a 1/1 elf into play.
Right.
And you also have the Energize ability, which is the key new feature for all future rulers.
And in green, Energize is especially powerful with Wall of Wind being a card.
Yes, very, very strong just for having that turn 0 play with the Wall of Wind. She also turns over to the other side for not too much or not too interesting ability. Essentially, she gives all elves plus 400 plus 400.
She makes 2 elves
And
at a time.
also makes 2 elves at a time instead of 1 after you've cast your second spell for the day. This ruler, I think, is going to be a ruler that we might see a little bit of play competitively. If not, people are going to brew with it because of the possibility.
People are gonna
I like
try
it.
their hardest to
Oh,
break
yeah.
this card.
This card is so insane. You can have a turn 1 Gwyber out. And that's just crazy.
And like the Adam Brawley shenanigans also.
Yeah, sacking the free elf to Adam Brawley, getting the mana produced from that. If you have something blue, you draw something. This is back to Alice's World all over again. And half of the combo's free, which is kind of nice.
Like you can turn 2 Alice's World in this deck, like if you set it up, if you're lucky.
Yeah, I mean, you would also need Alice's World in the format. Luckily, that's going to only be
Wander
one.
is a thing.
Yeah, this card is going to see play in a lot of different formats. It's interesting, which makes this a ruler that you're going to need to buy the starter deck for, along with the elf that produces will is in this one.
Which is very important to have.
The Sacred
They
Elf.
obviously print the Sacred Elf. They obviously print a lot of 1 mana will producers, but who knows if this is going to stand alone at some point. Maybe they'll cut off the format to only be the new stuff, and this is going to be a card that you're going to want in that situation from them, going block constructed like they did in the last one. There's not too much else in the deck in the starter deck that's really that important, but those 2 cards
I
alone.
think the cat's pretty important.
Oh yeah, and the cat, the
Tama, the familiar of Holy Wind.
Yes,
Yeah.
a functional reprint of the original cat, except for you no longer have to pay will in order to do 200 damage to the creature when you banish it. Although paying
Well, it
1
used
will,
to do
it used
300.
I think
so-
it's better this
Yeah.
way.
Some people think it's weaker because it can kill less.
Yeah,
It was almost always used as like in addition to like a
Well,
bow or a
in
demon.
the-
an oddly important thing is that it kills itself.
At the same time, the main purpose back when it was competitive, it killed more Gianna in
That
that.
too.
That's true.
So that was a big.
That was a big
Big
But
deal.
killing your opponents that way they don't get the Adam Raleigh off.
That's
making
true,
sure you
yeah.
kill it earlier is important. Long story short, though, these 3 cards are a part of a starter deck, which is something that I am slightly skeptical occurring in this game. I'm often worried that these things become more scarce than they
I
should be.
remember trying to afford Guinevere's back when they were
Yeah.
stupid expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then they became cheap in a
Yeah,
couple,
after
like a
I-
month or so.
Yeah,
right?
like a month after I bought the Guinevere's, that was cool.
But these ones won't be reprinted in the thing, so they won't become cheaper. So this is the thing.
Yeah, and there's 4 ofs in each deck.
Yeah,
which makes
it's
it
really
affordable.
fortunate that they're doing it in 4 of, so you don't have to
Yeah.
buy like 4 of the decks to get your playset.
That's definitely the good side to this story, but please continue.
Oh no! I mean, I'm just wanting to make that point. I know I keep driving it home, but it is something I'm worried about. I mean, when we first started this game, it was one of those things where some players didn't really want to start because they couldn't get certain cards that they needed. Of course, the game's grown a lot since then, but I mean, it's one of those things where I immediately bought all the starter decks I could, which
I didn't.
yeah, it was a bit of a problem. And I
Yeah,
don't wanna
it might
keep
be
beating
hard
a dead horse.
to get new people into it when you have like all the local people buying 5.
Yeah,
One of
it's kind of a
each.
problem.
You know, like,
But then, like, you have the problem of having not a good starter deck and no one wanting it, and it won't be like.
I love the last
playable.
starter decks, though. Starter decks that were all the cards from the actual set. Those
Yeah.
were fine. I
Those were
really
good.
love that.
This white deck is even pretty good. I mean, I know it's got a lot of that RNG you guys speak of, which I don't know what that means, but I'm pretty sure it means random
Means
something
ranged
something.
attack.
Ranged attack.
Random number generation, or I mean, there's a couple different variants of it, but I mean the randomizing of stuff is
Yeah.
a thing.
I mean,
that a
the
lot of
fact that
people
you
like.
might have a 7/7 turn 1 sounds pretty awesome to me, but
That's
Sounds
so-
pretty
Consistency
not
is
awesome
what
to
we're
play.
looking for here.
that sounds sick.
Sounds
Uh,
like I need separation of body and soul.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a lot of ways to deal with that deck. Like, it's nothing.
I don't think it's strong. I just don't like the fact that you and your opponent can play the exact same card, and theirs can be just better or worse than yours.
I don't
Yeah,
know. I like.
consistency is a very important thing. And speaking of consistency, we have that in our yellow spoilers for the week. I think this is a big card that's going to be pretty impactful in the format. But then again, we still have to fight against R&R.
Yeah.
Zero, the 6 Age of Light, is going to be in the set, so she's not a starter. She has Judgment of 2 Light. She has a fun ability where you pay 1 dark.
Okay.
Dark will, sorry guys. Target J/Resonator loses flying, first strike, swiftness, precision, which is a new keyword that they're bringing into this set to
Which
replace
is
Target
a target attack,
Yeah.
and imperishable until end of turn. This is on the front side, so this is an ability she can activate reasonably early.
Yep.
And also a somewhat less exciting ability of 1 light, target resonator gains plus 100, which, if anybody played some of the rulers from Valhalla, being able to fake out your opponent with a buff on the ruler, or even playing R&R back when you can
Yeah.
do that whenever, is relevant.
It's really powerful. Even if you don't do it, just the threat that you can do it is
Yeah.
the real strength of
Fire
it.
breathing is pretty good because you can do it on your before you untap.
Yeah. You always have something to do with your will.
And before we talk too much about her, I want to read the backside of the card really quick, which is Zero, Master of the Magic Saber. Sorry about that. It is a 11/11. It has the same ability on the front, but now it's free, which is J/Resonators lose and cannot gain flying, first strike, swiftness.
Yeah, the
precision.
opponents, like
and
everything.
she's
the
a super
opponent
death
has.
sight.
Yeah,
she's a super death sight.
She will kill you dead and prevent all damage that would be dealt to her during battle. So she's just a giant fighting beat stick of doom that shuts down everything.
for
your opponent's
2
trying to
mana
To
too.
flip. I'm gonna play the
She
crap
is
out of that card.
so fast.
do. I mean, it stops the aerial Gwybers. It stops everything your opponent could wish to hopefully be doing against you. Funny enough, that it doesn't stop target attack. So that's oddly a thing.
She has target attack though.
Well, she has precision, which
Yeah.
is a different little thing in here. And a lot of people are telling me, well, Black Moonbeam, you'll just lose her to that. Which, luckily, alongside that, just to compare, 2 cards at the same time, is her Zero's Familiar, a 500 flyer that gives your
2
J,
will, right?
yeah, 2 will, one colorless, one
Yep.
yellow, gives your J ruler barrier,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome. And if you're playing that exact ruler 0, the magical saber, this card gains plus 300.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a protection.
Yeah,
card.
it's easy to get rid of though. But I am glad they are making these cards to
You
help
play it alongside
protect.
Wind Secluded, and it's pretty
Yeah,
hard to deal
like
with your ruler.
yeah, I hope they. My dream is I doubt it's gonna come true. I hope they kind of do like 1 card in each color that can protect
The
your ruler with like a barrier like effect. I kind of hope a ruler has a similar ability to the green ruler in Valhalla. Like whenever it gets targeted, it just becomes a ruler. It
Yeah.
just hides.
Just runs away from
Yeah,
you.
it just runs
Yeah.
away. So like Black Moonbeam can never kill because they just hide back in the turtle shell.
It'd be
That
pretty
sounds cool.
I like it.
But yeah, I mean, I think the bird's a little fragile to say that.
Just a little bit.
How
It's a
big
little-
is it? What's
It's
it?
a 5/5
8/8.
and it'll become an 8/8 once you flip 0.
An 8/8 flying for 2 is pretty cool.
Yeah,
That is
it
pretty
can be
solid.
relevant.
But then I mean, it could get killed with the blue 1 drop
Yeah.
separation.
I mean, you have to
soul.
play Wind Secluded Refuge if you want to be actually safe, but it just adds another level of protection.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Man, and we got these spoilers so long ago. I almost feel like we covered these in the last podcast. I know that we didn't, but I mean, it's all I've been talking about for a while. The most gnarly or the most exciting thing about this ruler as well is another card that goes along with her, which is, I'm terribly sorry, I'm actually scrambling to try and find the name of it. But more importantly, what it does is it gives your it allows you to banish an attacking or blocking resonator from the game for 1 white will, as long as you control
As long as you're
0.
0.
If not, then it's 2 light will. in
Which
order
is
to
still
do
good.
That sounds
which is
pretty
still
good.
really, really good. I completely apologize, guys. I've usually have a computer here, and it's a lot easier for me to actually
You'll
do
probably
this.
see the image.
Yeah, but it's over there. I just can't read it over there. 0 Magic Light is the name of the card. It is a chant with a quick cast, and I think it's going to be one of the defining reasons why you play 0
yeah.
is to have this turn 1. If your ruler, or if you're going second, having a turn 1 in case you have an aggressive opponent. I think either playing the green ruler, feasting, or the other one to have Wall of Wind turn 1, or turn 0, I mean.
Yeah.
Or this with 0 is going to be a defining play.
I don't think you're gonna ever play that card turn 1, to be honest.
There's nothing worth killing that your opponent plays turn 1 that can attack you, I feel.
But back in the day, we did have the Rook Egg into Cthulhu and then hit you.
If
and
they
if
do,
you could 2 for 1
They're
your
not going to
opponent that
play
way,
Incarnation.
it was a thing for a long time back in the day. And it was a solid strategy that if we ever see something like that come back up again, where
I guess
turn
you're
one-
talking
really a 2
about
for 1
like
though? Can you really call it a 2 for
Yeah.
1 though? Because they still get their card with their Rook Egg.
That's true. But I mean, it's still preventing
It
500
prevents the
damage from a
damage,
5/5
yeah.
on turn
I
1.
don't know. I never
Was
was scared
relevant.
of Cthulhu's, I guess. But
Oh, look at
Cthulhu's-
you, brave old Cole.
that's
Yeah.
because no one really liked playing him around here, I think. So
No, that's true. But it is just one of those things where small incremental things like that matter towards the long game, and being able to stop your opponent on turn 0 from impacting you. Because sometimes I've seen people chain those things where they did one Cthulhu,
Oh, the
hit
Cthulhu
you, and
train.
then another, and
Yeah.
just run a train of Cthulhu on you. Stopping that dead in the tracks is actually a really relevant thing, and to be able to do that before your opponent gets up and going is really relevant. Of course, not everybody's going to be playing energized rulers from the
Yeah.
start, so that's going to be really interesting to see how valuable that coin is going to be in this first generation cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to say the coin's gonna make an impact, but at the same time, it's just reflect
I
and
think it
refrain
will.
is just better right now.
I think in combo decks it will make a difference
Mhm.
because that 1 mana difference is.
Okay, we
quite
need to see a
lot.
combo first.
I-
though.
But there has to be a combo to be
Yeah.
found. currently.
I mean-
I'm gonna probably use it just to flip my ruler a turn earlier.
Yeah,
This
things like
makes-
that will occur.
This makes Riza Melder like a turn earlier too.
No, because you need 4 stones regardless to pop it off.
I see. For Riza?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that got me into this game mainly was a huge decrease of randomness and the consistency that the game allows you to provide. And the coin allows you to be consistent on the, stay 1-to-1 with your opponent. As to where in the past, it was favoring you going first always. And I don't want the game to necessarily be that. So I definitely feel like this adds a much needed boost to most of the metagame. And that's really what helped me get into this game a lot.
I also think it's really nice that they're printing it on rulers specifically, so if they find that it's becoming too powerful, they can just make rulers a little weaker if they have energize, or take it off rulers in the future, so it's very easy to fix their
oh, like
mistake
it's
if
not
it
a
isn't
set.
It's not a
rule.
set
I
rule,
see.
where like in
Interesting.
Hearthstone, just if you're the second player,
Yeah.
you get a coin.
But they got a colorless coin.
Yeah,
right?
well, you didn't have colors. in
That's true.
Hearthstone,
Hearthstone doesn't have colors.
So, but it means that they can fix their mistakes without reworking the game's fundamental rules, which I think is really nice.
That's a
for
really
players.
good point.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff was really important when I first started getting into the game as to why I liked a lot of this stuff, which is actually something that we kind of asked the audience a little bit last time was a lot of the reasons why you guys started playing the game, which since we have you here, I actually want to ask you that. But the audience overwhelmingly answered that the reason why they started playing the game was thanks to the art. which I think was just about everybody.
A lot of people said it, or at least the people who commented.
A lot of people said
We
the
know
art,
you
but
got
also-
into it for the mechanics. Definitely got into the game for the mechanics, and we've talked to you definitely. But Cole,
Yeah.
since
mechanics.
yeah, what got you into the game?
One too many mana screws of Magic, probably. But
I think that's kind of the same
Yeah.
way with me.
I mean,
to be honest.
I like anime kinda, but I mean I also prefer more realistic art. So I would say the art. I mean, I like Patrick. I would play this game if it didn't have art. But
Yeah, I can't imagine this game with like magic art. It just doesn't fit.
It's
I feel
definitely
like
different now. Back in the beginning, I was like, oh, you could slap any art on this and it'd be fine. It's definitely becoming a part of the game for me now, is the aesthetic look of it. But
That's what a lot of customers like coming into the store, and like we grab a lot of attention just seeing the Force of Will display case. Like, oh, what are these cards? They look really cool.
what are these cards? They look really cool. Valentina has big boobs.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
was the main problem that turned a lot of people away. Like they look at the art, it looks cool, and then they see Valentina. It's just like, that's gross. I don't want to play this game. And it's just kind of
Like when I set down my Valentina playmat in front of Magic players, they're a little weirded out.
yeah, that
Like-
is a thing.
A little bit.
Can't really help that too much, but I mean, the game's great nonetheless. Yeah, I definitely enjoy the art nowadays a lot more than I did when I first started. But I think they've made a huge jump in the different style of art.
I feel like their art
yeah.
quality has also increased.
I mean, a lot of these people who got into the game because of the art also said, but they stayed with it because the game was just so much fun.
The art's really good at attracting people, but it also does drive people away. But it seems to be more of an attracting force.
Not to get too far away from the spoilers, which we'll get back to in just a second. Speaking of the art, the Judge promo, the very first time that we've seen a Judge promo, is a very, very anime style art.
Okay, we
chibi
need
art.
to talk about black spoilers after this.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting really off topic. Sorry about this, guys. But the chibi art for Reflect and Refrain is the first Judge spoiler, like the
That
Judge
we know
promo
of
art that we've seen.
anyways.
yeah.
Which is going for an insane amount online.
So much money.
It's like 400, 500.
450. Some people are trying to sell it at 1,000 to begin with.
That's
Because apparently,
insane.
at least
Yeah.
what they quoted
How
was
many-
there was only 100 main, but only like 10 or something were distributed amongst the judges.
Okay.
So as far as we know, there's only 10 being floating around in
Okay,
the.
well, there's only 5 of my acrylic Sylvias, but it's only at 300. So
Yeah, it's, well, I mean, R&R is kind of, you know,
R&R
yeah,
just
but
one.
like
R&R is the
How
past,
much-
the present, and the future.
How much-
how
Come
much
on.
is an acrylic? How much is an acrylic R&R? Like, I
Ooh,
wonder.
I think it's
Probably
worth.
quite a bit.
It's worth.
It's
quite a
worth
bit.
more than like a Sylvia,
I
obviously.
think the
but,
gold
like,
R&R is like the most
of course,
valuable
but
Yeah.
card.
there's only one of those. So,
Yeah.
but like, I mean, acrylic Sylvia is up there in the acrylic rulers just because it looks pretty.
Yeah, keep bragging, Cole.
I will.
All right.
You can't stop me.
So,
Actually, you can, but
Instead of keep jumping around, we'll get right back to the spoilers. Sorry about that,
black
guys.
spoilers.
Yes, the Black Spoilers is the newest of the ones that we actually got today at the time of filming this, since we film on Wednesdays and get this out to you guys randomly. I'm
Dom.
going to butcher his
That's my fault.
name, which
We
is
call it force.
Worm at Thal, Master of 1,000 Keys. I don't know that name.
Dude,
Terribly
it's
sorry.
Sora,
That's such
dude.
a cool name.
Yeah, Master
Yeah.
of 1,000 Keys is all I'm going to refer to him as because I keep stumbling over that first
The
part.
keys, dude.
He has Judgment of 1 Dark and
And
X,
X.
which will be relevant as soon as he gets to the other side, and Energize of 1.
Black
Yeah, it's always black because it's going to be for him.
His
I
color.
almost read off what Energize does because I actually forgot what it did. Totally know what I'm doing here, guys. So professional.
So he's a 15-15 on his backside.
He
and
is.
he reveals that he's Yogg Sothoth.
Yogg's
Yep, so we have Yogg-Sothoth, which is funny because I keep remembering Little Red, the fake Little Red, was appearing as a whole bunch of a bunch of different characters.
Well, she's Narcothep.
Yeah, she's Narcothep, but she's also Little Dread. And
Yeah.
she's a whole bunch of other, like, one of my favorite characters. I'm really hoping she comes back as
So
something.
she's going to be the starter deck.
and I'm really hoping is she gonna
I
be
think
really-
Lunya's going to transform into her.
That would be amazing because I want her to come
That would be
back.
pretty
Sounds-
sweet.
That sounds cool.
I think Lunia transforms into her.
I really like Lunia.
Getting off track again, going back to the ruler. It is a 15-15, as you said, and it has a new mechanic that is unique to the black spoilers so far, which is a fun mechanic called Limit.
Very fun.
His ability is, since it's the first one, it's going to be X plus 1 for Limit, which is X is the first part that you paid in the front side. And what Limit is when it enters the field, you get X plus 1 limit counters on it where whenever it attacks or blocks, you remove a limit counter from the card, which isn't too impressive or that really doesn't do anything. But at the beginning of your turn, destroy all resonators with the total cost equal to the number of limit counters on this card, then remove a limit counter from this card.
At the beginning or the end?
I believe it's at the end.
At the end of your turn, sorry. I'm reading two different lines of text
That
off
would've
of
been
phone.
terrible.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of your turn, you get to just board wipe.
End of
off.
turn.
So he sounds like he's like a pseudo Dark Alice.
Yeah.
Probably slightly better, at least
Well,
when it
it
comes in the
recurs each
terms of
turn.
effect, right?
Don't forget
Yeah.
what Limit does when he runs out of counters. As I do
Right.
believe
At
they
the beginning of
mentioned
your
that.
turn, if there's no limit counters on this card, you flip it back to your ruler area, and you lose 500 life.
And I love it.
That's really cool because then you get to flip him again and reset the whole counter
Blow up the
aspect.
board again.
So I kind of thought Limit was going to explain a little bit better in that text. That's why I kind of stumbled there a whole bunch. But what Limit looks to be on a bunch of other cards, just to quickly know what it is it's kind of like fading mechanic back in Magic.
Yep.
Essentially, it provides a really cool ability while it's there, whether it's for attacking or blocking purposes. Once the counters run out, it always ends up destroying the card, or in this case, returning the ruler back to the ruler area. So you only get the card for the amount of time that the limit effect is, for the counters that you have on it. But this is a cool ruler to kind of show off that new mechanic.
Yeah, he's one of our biggest rulers, I think, of 15-15.
I think
Yeah.
that is the biggest.
Yes,
ruler.
the biggest before that we had before this was a 13-13 that was Bloody Snow
And then
White.
Valentina being a 14-14 pseudo once she entered.
Mhm.
So definitely the biggest printed, right?
I mean, there's the 0-30 in Valhalla, but
Yeah,
That's the-
Valhalla. Yeah.
I mean, they
Valhalla
add
looks
up
kinda
to the
weird.
same.
yeah. Basically the same card, right?
Yeah, basically. the same.
So, how do you guys think of that in like power level for most things?
Do not know. I think this is the most complex of the rulers that we've seen so
It
far.
reminds me of Kaguya in that I feel like it's going to be very hard to play it
I
correctly.
think it's going to be very,
I
very
think
hard.
Dark Alice is gonna be better because of consistency.
That's my thought too. Also, you don't benefit from the energize on this ruler in particular much in the same way they do for other rulers. And what I mean by that is the green ruler, of course, has Wall of Wind, so counter the first turn. 0 has the banish a creature that's attacking or blocking, which is useful. In red, you'll have the new Thunderbolt, which is coming in this set. And what's the other color?
Blue. You have Brainstorm.
You have basically Brainstorm, so you get to draw cards. You get to do something if that's something you
Blue
need
is
to for some
kind
reason.
of weak
It's
also.
kind of weak,
It's
but
kind
it's
of like
still
Brainstorm.
something you get to do at instant speed for 1 mana on turn
However,
0.
does it really matter if you can do something at instant speed on turn 0?
I
Like
feel-
Brainstorm that doesn't affect your opponent compared to doing something for 2 mana on your turn 1?
I feel like that being paired with the Energize ability on turn 0, I feel like that being paired together makes the ruler that much better. It's almost an additional ability at that point. You get to play a spell on the start of your opponent's first turn. Losing that from this ruler kind of makes the Energize a little lackluster to me, and I kind of feel why most people don't think Energize will replace something like R&R, as opposed to when you actually get to do something on your opponent's first turn. I feel like that's where
if
you
your
get the
opponent's
value.
not ready, you can just Lapis's Dark Storm.
Is that 1 mana?
No,
2
it's
mana.
2 mana,
Just
but on
2
your
mana.
turn,
Right,
and they
that's-
discard 2 cards.
Yeah, so on your
Which
first
is
turn,
pretty
that's pretty
nasty.
good.
There's also some actually black one-drop. So they were never actually played in competitive things, but there's like destroy target resonator with power of 4 or less.
Yeah, the instant.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's
yeah.
1 black.
That might
which
be
is
very
pretty
relevant with
strong
that
with
elf.
Energize, because
Okay.
there's not a lot of 1-drops that survive that.
I did not think about that. That will
Because I
actually
realized
have
no
a
one
few
plays
That
things.
card
card.
might see play now
Okay.
with Energize. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd have to agree with Cole.
But I think we're thinking about like control metas.
I
Yes.
think
What
he's-
if you just save up that
to
black
flip early?
stone
So
to
it means
flip
even if
early?
you're on the draw, you aren't as behind in tempo.
Yeah, I'm very curious as where that's going to take the game. Are people going to want to use this as fast as possible? Or is it going to be saved for, say, a later big play? Or is it going to be like some weird thing where you're just kind of playing until you think your opponent just forgot about it and you use that one mana to just completely destroy them?
So we are getting tokens, obviously, by the elf in the feasting deck. Will they provide or print a token for this ability? Is actually something I'm wondering. Is this something that we're going to start seeing in the pack? Is tokens, things like that?
I have a weird feeling no.
I have a strong feeling of no.
So
because
you know, it'd be cool. So you know how they make the willpower points? What if they printed the tokens on the back of those?
Interesting.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, but then the
they'd
paper
have to
quality
print.
would be up.
Yeah, they'd have to print a real card
They
stock.
used to print it on real card stock.
Yeah, maybe. I would love to see actual physical tokens come in, and if they do that, please print one for Dark Alice and Fairy Alice if anybody actually.
You're talking about the
for
emblems.
the emblems, basically. Things like that would be useful for this game. I would really enjoy that extra little fanfare.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll just print like a pack of tokens for like all these tokens. Just you sell it like a
Jay,
starter deck.
What do you think about this ruler?
For this ruler in particular,
Yeah, the black ruler.
the fact that he board wipes each turn is a relevant thing. Although it's nothing with converted mana cost over what you had for the turn, so that's a little bit lackluster. I don't have anything in my head that I immediately want to do with him. When I saw 0, I instantly thought of all of the aggressive decks I could do or possible control decks. With feasting, I just could think of multiple ways to turn that extra elf into an engine and do stuff with. Unfortunately, this might not be a ruler that's for me, basically, as I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that I'd want to do with him. He does seem like he does have a bit of power to him. I mean, he is the biggest ruler. He
Costs 1 to flip.
one flip, but then he.
I don't think I would ever flip
flips
for
back.
one.
Yeah, he could
Unless
flip
there's
back.
like just a gamble Levantine play.
But it's turn 1.
Or
They
to
play
kill their
an elf.
1-drop. Kill their 1-drop elf. That seems not terrible.
It kills a
and hit them for
1-drop and
15.
you energize and you kill whatever they play turn 1
Wait,
and then you hit for 15.
because
it has to be a 1-drop because they only have 1 mana for turn 1.
It's at the end of the turn it board wipes.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
They're blocking with that 1-drop.
Well, if you
If
have an
they're gonna
Apollo,
lose
they're
it.
not blocking.
And I thought it removed the counter and then board wipe.
It's true, it does. So if you're on turn 2, you can't do it turn 1.
I think it
It's a
removes the
board
counter
wipe.
first and then it
Because
board
you're
wipes.
attacking, right?
So
Jay would have
So
to read it.
here's a deck.
at the beginning of, or at the end of your turn, destroy all resonators with total
okay.
cost equal to the number of counters on this card.
And
Then remove a limit counter from this card.
Okay,
Do you want me to
but
go
first
down
of
a
all,
rabbit
on
hole
turn
on that?
1 when you attack, you have to remove that
Okay.
counter.
I can go down a rabbit hole about this or not because I feel like there is something interesting you could go over.
Well,
Yeah,
Talk
what
about
are
it.
you thinking?
Burn. So you just hit your opponent for like 15, 17 if
Mhm.
you have a Leviathan turn 1. Probably
Okay.
for sure. And when your opponent's down to 23 life after turn 1, you can probably just burn them out with like the red burn spells and like hasty flying resonators
Now-
like Flame Sprite and things like that.
I agree with that idea. I like that idea a lot because I used to try to do that with Snow White. But there's one difference between this card and Snow White is the coming back from mana doesn't seem like a reasonable thing to do with this ruler. If you're spending a lot of time flipping it back and forth.
You wouldn't flip it over again probably.
You
So-
just do it once with that
I don't-
energy.
I don't think you do it
you
turn
just
one.
you just do it once with that energized turn 1 because they probably can't deal with it.
Okay.
And then you try
okay,
and
we
burn them
can't
out,
focus
but-
on Energize all the time. Okay,
Right.
everyone's since these cards have come out, everyone's like, "Oh, turn 2.
Well,
what
fo-
about turn 1?"
I just get the most energy out of talking about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Turn 1 was in
sorry.
the past.
I know
Patrick.
everyone-
Focus on turn 2.
okay, we can't all just be like, "Oh yeah, we're all gonna be playing on turn 2 now." No, that's not gonna happen. People are still gonna want to go
Okay.
first.
But you need to win your games when you start on turn 2. Like winning game on when you go first is already much easier usually. Like focusing on going second is a good way to strategize going, practice.
A lot of
in
people
general.
were talking about that.
That's actually the thing. When you're preparing for a tournament
Yeah.
and you're going, always try
Always
to practice
on the draw.
Yeah.
I mean,
not-
it's good to know what happens on the play,
Mhm.
but you want to know if you can win on the draw.
Yeah,
You wanna know
especially
if you can
game
win on
one.
the draw.
You want to know that when you sit down and that dice rolls snake eyes and your opponent rolls double sixes, you're going second. Just know how you're going to be able to play through that.
So your opponent
Prepare
says
for
I'm
the
going
worst.
second because of Energize.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't need to plan that because we've all kind of confirmed Energize ups your second.
It helps, yes, but it's still a thing when you're testing for a tournament.
I mean, I know
Keep
it's
in mind.
exciting, but at the same time, like
Well, Patrick,
Let's move
what
on
do
to
you
the
want-
rest of the
almost
cards.
all our scenarios are like, well, we're going second. It's just
Well,
like,
in other words, what you're trying to tell us is that we need to move on to the next spoiler, which is going to be a really cool Cthulhu creature. It is the creature from Chaos. Yeah, I guess that's his
As a
name.
1-drop?
He
Yeah.
is a 1-drop for 1 Dark Will. He's a 200 attack, 200 defense, which is nothing very special. But
Dies to
when this
the
card deals
familiar.
damage to a J/Resonator, destroy that J/Resonator. So
Which is nasty.
the first
That's
ruler
kind of-
death touch.
yeah,
Ready for Bloody War Axe?
Yeah,
On
Bloody
one.
War Axe on him is much easier to do than that 2-drop.
No, but now it means you can play 8 things that Bloody War Axe can go on if you want.
Yeah, but this is a 1-drop.
It
It's
is.
like much more viable.
It is much more viable, I agree.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's scary. I mean, I don't know if it's
But
good.
it's very fragile, though.
We still have Dark Assassin, and we haven't seen him like with the Bloody War.
That's what I'm saying. He's 2 hard black mana. No
Yeah.
one's playing that. But this is
But
this
one
is
drop.
like this is something that Cole might potentially play because it's a 1-drop.
There's also like Battle for
only
Atarakia
200.
and things like that.
Ooh,
that
battle!
make it
Yeah,
pretty
make
nasty.
it fight a J ruler. Yeah.
It's a really awkward card. Sure, you can burn a thunder on it or many different
Killing a
ways to
familiar.
kill it, but
Familiar is the best way.
you
Yeah.
really don't
Want to.
Like, how much do you really
It's
care about
almost
this
always
card?
going to trade up, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know if this card's strong enough to see play unless Cthulhu's just in general become a big thing.
Even if it's a 1 mana, I take away your thunder, I will play this card.
Oh, really?
Like,
It's just really bad against the familiar, but otherwise it seems pretty decent.
yeah.
I guess it depends on how popular Familiar is, but I just
Oh
don't
my
see
god,
it
it's
doing
gonna be
well.
very like
What
super
if-
popular.
What about Artemis Bow?
Ooh,
or
yeah,
like,
familiar does just kind of.
Artemis Bow does wreck it, I would say,
trade.
yeah.
Artemis Bow kills it. If you stake Bloody War Axe, it's a 2-for-1 if they can kill it. And
No.
even bad for Atarakia, you're like 2-for-1ing yourself because you're training your creature and the spell.
But you do have Remnant, so it's not too bad.
Thinking of the cat though, the fact that the cat replaces itself and then you banish it to kill this, I just got to go with the cat and got to go with green just still being one of the biggest powerhouses in this game.
I mean, the way I'd see it most used would be with Gleipnir, to force your opponent to block with whatever they had.
Yeah.
So you're just using it as a removal spell.
But banish my cat, kill your little guy.
Oh yeah, of
I mean,
course.
that
That
seems
will
like the
definitely
most
happen.
dominant thing that's going to happen.
yeah.
Which is kind of sad. I was kind of happy for this little 1-drop guy.
I
It's
mean,
not terrible.
He's
No,
not
he's not.
terrible.
He's
Yeah,
definitely
I
still
almost
good.
feel like it's a sideboard card that I'm not against green. This card comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not too much else going in black. The only other thing that I want to talk about because it's absurdness is
I love it.
Azeroth, the hunter of
Reality.
reality.
It's just like yeah.
Still don't like
I thought it
this
was a
item too much.
female at first.
6 colorless, 2 darkness, 2,000, 2,000, and it has limit 6. So you get 6 counters on this card. Whenever it attacks or block, you still have to remove a counter.
Yeah.
When this card would okay,
Be
if
destroyed.
this card
Would
would be destroyed, you may remove a limit counter from this card to prevent it from being destroyed, which is
And
pretty
remove all
useful.
damage from it. Don't forget that.
Yep, remove all damage. When this card attacks or blocks, destroy target J/Resonator, which is insane.
That ability.
Which I wish that was on the
gross.
ruler instead of the other thing. Actually, that might be better in my opinion. And
I
at
think
the end of
that-
Who's
turn,
on the 1-drop?
I think
if
the
there
ruler
is
would be
no
way
limit
too
counters on this card, destroy it and do 2,000 damage to yourself.
That's never gonna happen.
Which is, yeah, Leviton, Guinevere,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to sack it. There's like
Incarnate it
If
to
you-
Adam Brawley.
if you've had to have ended the game by that time.
Like, if
there's
they've destroyed it 3 times, you still have had 3 turns to play with it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna have ended the game.
there's
in 3
just
turns.
no way it's gonna kill you. Unless there's a card that like removes all the counters. off
Yeah,
of it.
like-
That's the only way.
And even then, you can still banish it to Leviton.
I just
Yeah.
can't help but feel like this thing is a big do nothing.
It costs a lot of.
Costs a
will,
lot of
So that's
mana,
its
it
main
doesn't-
You're
barrier.
never gonna play it. Like
Yeah.
you're never gonna hardcast.
You're
You're
never
gonna
gonna
try
play
to
it.
It's a
cheat it
reanimation
out.
target, and I feel like it is the best reanimation target there is currently.
But
He's not. He's
if it had swiftness,
it
He's
only
not-
does
he's
something
pretty
when it
good.
attacks. So it just coming. I guess you can't just straight up destroy because of your removal limit counter. It's really weird.
It's
a
got
really weird
protection.
card
Didn't
that
they print like a 1-drop in the Vingolf that gives swiftness to things?
Does it have
Yeah.
barrier?
No.
No, it
Well, if it would be
removes the
destroyed, you
counter.
remove the
You
counter,
don't.
so it
just-
shouldn't die.
doesn't-
so
It still dies to
banishing it
removal
is-
spells.
Well, it
it
dies
bounce-
to the 0
bounce.
spell.
yeah, exiling it is about the best way to deal with it
For
so-
1 mana, like
yeah.
that's
It's pretty
to an
nasty.
8 mana thing. Yeah,
But
that's
I mean,
okay.
if they attack them,
They still get to
one
kill.
I mean, I
thing.
think it's going to be a Shadow Dance
I thought
target most of the time.
I thought it was if it was destroyed, just remove all damage from it.
No, I read it that way first, but if you read the first line, it's if this card would be destroyed, remove a
Instead.
counter from it instead, and
Remove all damage from it.
and yeah, and then
Because
then
otherwise-
remove all yeah. The wording was kind of weird. I read it that way too, and then Jordan explained it in the article. I'm like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah. His articles are usually really good. I definitely enjoy reading the stuff off the main page. a
One,
lot.
one of the articles is really funny. I think it was like the second article or third. But it was like, now it's time for the, red spoilers, and it was a completely different color when he said it was. But yeah, a little off topic. But I thought
Yeah,
that
his
was
stuff's
really
worth
funny.
reading. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, there's not too much else to really go over for tonight, exactly, unless there's anything you guys can think of off the top of your head.
I mean,
There was one thing you wanted to say at the end, but
Well, yeah, I figured
He's-
we'd get there too when we get there.
yeah, just getting to us.
Which, yeah, the only other thing I could really think of is, somebody in our last video actually ended up asking us a question, which, in addition to that, he also asked if we'd ever want to do like a Q&A type of thing, which, if you guys actually wanted to submit some questions for us, something that we could either, if we get enough of them, answer them all in one video, or even answer one or so after the end of each video, rather right at the end, or maybe in like after the credits roll, since we don't have credits, it's kind of weird.
Just so it's not flooded
yes.
in the message boards,
Let us know
I
what you
have
guys
red
want.
underwear. Yeah.
What?
Okay.
People are obviously going to ask, what color underwear do I wear?
pretty
so-
sure that's not what you were wearing when we showed the hotel. The first time.
Okay, so Patrick has red underwear, and also definitely submit some questions for us. But the first question that we have from Kling, which is why is there only one person in charge of the U.S. Force of Will? Which is actually a good question.
Yeah.
We can't really answer it because we don't run Force of Will.
Right,
mean-
but I mean, taking our best guess at it, the whole staffing for that place in general is what, like 10, 12
In
people
Japan?
deep?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's only
it's-
like 10 people.
There's very few people working there, which is why we have like misprints on cards.
yes. It definitely has caused a few translational errors, but I mean, he does the best that he can. They
Yeah.
run a very tight ship, and so far it's working, but
It's pretty effective,
eventually
pretty
they'll-
It's super efficient for what they're doing.
once it gets a little bigger, they'll be able to hire more people, and it'll become even more effective. And
I mean, but that low staff probably is a good reason why it allows us to have those really cool boxes, a little bit more premium things.
Yeah.
They don't spend so much on
There's
the
less
employees.
cluttering of ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like it's streamlined right now. I definitely enjoy the way that it's been running.
Yeah.
Um,
So I mean,
Which is pretty interesting.
so to answer your question, I mean, we could all go around maybe giving a different answer unless we all agree.
No,
I mean,
just-
it's probably just a staffing thing. Like, they can't afford, two people, like one West Coast, one East Coast. It's just they
Yeah.
only have the money to pay for one
they
guy.
obviously
But if
pay
they're
West
hiring-
Coasters.
But okay, are they the person in charge? Is that the head judge of the U.S. team, or like is it an actual person
Are you
doing
talking about Jordan?
distribution?
No,
Or like
what was it?
You knew
Oh,
the name.
Robert Herbert is the head
Robert.
judge for the U.S. like.
He is
judge
the head
system.
judge. Did you just answer your own question there?
He is the head judge,
Okay.
but like, is that the person running Force of Will in the U.S. or like?
no, I think Jordan's the guy who does everything for the US.
No.
Oh, there's actually a guy here.
There's a guy here.
Things I don't know.
There's like a little rainbow over your head.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it is him.
And
Who's
he
running?
handles distribution or in like cards, handling community affairs and
I
all
think
that
so.
stuff.
Okay.
That's a
So
pretty.
you can blame him whenever something goes wrong with distribution.
Cool. I finally know who I need to talk to.
I don't know. I think he just does the head judge stuff. He ran Gen Con. He's
Okay.
running all the stuff.
I think
on
he
the-
oversees all the stuff. I don't know if he handles the distribution, but I think he's like
That's
kind of the
pretty
one who has to set it up,
Yeah.
get it rolling anyways.
Yeah, and there's a great community of people like online on the Facebook page, like his little judge circle, like Stephanie Shaw, and people just answering questions on the Facebook group all the time. I think he has a pretty good team helping him. It's just not just one person, I don't think.
And we'll all definitely see it grow as the game grows. It's definitely something that's not going to stay this way for long, I think. I mean, I was apparently clueless to a lot of this, so I mean, I'm glad you guys actually
Chimed in.
know these things. But yeah, definitely ask us a few more questions. We're definitely interested in knowing what you guys think in general, and also, yeah, anything of that nature. But thank you guys for watching. I was Jay Phillips, your host.
I was Patrick Collins.
I'm Don Boone.
I was Robert O'Brien, but now I'm Cole.
Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one.
Yep. Bye bye.
Have a good one.